Do you ever have one of those books that you just really been anticipating reading and you've heard so many good things about it and then it just doesn't live up to the hype? Let's talk about it here on Drew's Book Reviews. That's coming right up. Good day, and welcome to another episode of Drew's Book Reviews. Today we have another book review for you. Today's book is going to be The Three Body Problem by Cixin Liu. Before we get into that, however, make sure you go ahead and hit that like, comment, subscribe button. You know the routine. Check out the links below. Discord, Bookstagram, as well as my hardcover social media link is down below as well. So let's talk about The Three Body Problem by Cixin Liu. This is a book that I'd actually heard quite a bit about. There's a lot of hype about how awesome it was and how good it was. It seemed to be a really popular book, and so I picked it up thinking this is the book that I am going to enjoy, especially since I've been wanting to get into more science fiction reads, and this seemed like a good opportunity since this book seemed to be so popular in the sci-fi community and all that great stuff, right? Well, unfortunately, it didn't really live up to the hype that I had expected from it. I knew it was hard sci-fi going in, which generally speaking, I don't have a problem with hard sci-fi. I absolutely loved The Martian. That was definitely a hard sci-fi book. Absolutely loved The Martian. It was a great read. Absolutely fantastic. This book is also a hard sci-fi book. So as the title of the book alludes to in The Three Body Problem, this is a reference to a very well-known physics problem or principle, which essentially, if you don't really know what that is, the three body problem essentially is the problem of taking the initial positions and velocities of three different objects in space. And that's basically what that three body problem is and what the title of this book absolutely alludes to. This story relies on the three body problem in physics as a key part of the narrative of the overall story. What I will say though is I really enjoyed reading up on the physics and the mathematics involved in the story. For me at least, that is always an interesting topic to read up on. I mean, I love reading about physics. I have lots of books on my nonfiction shelf about physics. Brian Greene, of course, being among my favorite in the physics writing. So definitely I've read a lot of physics books. I enjoy reading about physics. So for me, that is definitely something that is of a high interest to me, and I do enjoy that aspect of it. That being said, however, this is most definitely a hard sci-fi book, with physics and math being a huge part of it. In fact, much of the book, and this spends a lot of time on explaining the physics and math involved in the overall storyline. And essentially, when we're reading through the book, virtually an entire chapter is essentially a physics paper going into the details of the physics and the mathematics involved behind what they're trying to explain, or what Cixin Liu is trying to explain within the overall book and story arc itself. And I just personally found that all that aspect being built into the book itself really detracted from the overall narrative and storytelling within this book, because it spent too much time focusing on explaining the math and science and not enough time developing the narrative and going through the ideas that this book is really focused on as far as the sci-fi story goes. And that lack of focus on the overall narrative were those aspects that really detracted from the overall narrative for me. Really felt that it kind of dropped the ball in a lot of ways as far as developing the plot, developing the story, developing the characters. Now, of course, with classic sci-fi, and a lot of classic sci-fi anyway, character development is not paramount. But a lot of classic sci-fi has to do with big sci-fi ideas, and we definitely see that in other classic science fiction, such as Isaac Asimov's Foundation, whereas big ideas, not a lot of character development. But unlike some other classic sci-fi, this book just really seemed to lack an overall story development as a whole, and it felt like half the book was too busy explaining the math and physics instead of progressing the storyline, and that's what really drew it back for me in this particular book, which was really disappointing because I really wanted to enjoy this book. I wanted to love this book as much as it has been loved, but I just didn't feel like it accomplished what I was hoping and wanting from it, and that is unfortunate. I mean, that being said though, I really loved the conceptual and big ideas that this book presented. I love the ideas put there. I love the concepts that regarding the rise and fall of civilizations that was put into this book. Won't get into too much detail on that because I don't want to get into spoilers. But I did like the big ideas and the big concept sci-fi that was a big factor and part of this overall book. That for me was just fantastic, and I wish I could have so much more of that within this storyline, but it just wasn't there. So essentially when it comes down to it, when we take a look at overall good and bad, well, there are definitely some good aspects to it that I enjoyed. The big ideas that I just mentioned is definitely a plus for me. I love exploring those concepts, like I said, of the rise and fall of civilization. Some other aspects of this book that I really enjoyed was kind of getting into a little bit of the history of Chinese culture and political history from the early to mid 20th century. I thought that was a really fantastic aspect of it. I enjoyed reading a little bit about that. I always enjoy learning a bit more about the cultures from which the books came from. That's also one of the reasons why I wanted to read this book, is because so much of the books that I read is Western culture based, so I don't have a lot. I'm trying to get more books influenced by other cultures, whether that's Eastern culture, African culture, wherever. I want to get more books influenced by other cultures. So this book is set in China and has some history to Chinese political history and revolution, communist revolution in China, as part of this book. And I did enjoy kind of getting a little bit of insight into that cultural revolution as far as the Chinese history goes. So that was really good for me, and I did enjoy that aspect of this book. So those are definitely some pluses that I came across within this book overall. Unfortunately, the minus is the long-winded science-based explanations and info dumps that really detracted from the story and didn't contribute much to overall character development. So those are just kind of my thoughts on The Three Body Problem by Cixin Liu. Overall, I had to give this 2.5 stars because really it was half good and half bad for me. I don't think I'm going to pick up the rest of this series that this book is part of. I just don't see me wanting to pick up the rest, and I'm kind of saddened, honestly, that this turned out to be not a great read for me. I really wish it had been better. I do, and I just didn't like it as much as I'd hoped that I would, and that's really unfortunate. But there you have it. There are my thoughts on The Three Body Problem, and I know that there's people out there that really enjoyed this book, and that is awesome. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. It just wasn't for me, and it just wasn't what I wanted out of the science fiction books that I'm looking to get more into. So let me know down below, what did you think of The Three Body Problem? Have you read it? Did you enjoy it? Maybe you didn't like it either. I don't know. Let me know down below. Join me on Discord. Join me on Bookstagram. Follow me there. That'll be linked below. Also, I will have a link to the Hardcover website as well, where you can hang out and follow me on Hardcover social media about books as well. Look forward to hearing from you. And as always, thank you so much for watching. And until next time, keep on reading. Bye.